Compete, crack, conquer.
A challenging GATE contest engineered to give you an experience like none other.
where you put your knowledge to test.
and battle it out with the best.
To bring out the best in you, Unacademy Combat is the most competitive, gamified contest for GATE till date, with the best of the questions by best educators.
With detailed video solutions from top educators right after each contest.
Combat live with peers to get real-time rankings and win big.
Participate in every contest to improve your ratings.
Challenging contests every fortnight or alternate Sunday. Live ranking after every question. Big rewards for top rankers. Your passion to crack GATE deserves this. Your hard work towards your dream deserves this. Fuel your inner fire for the ultimate GATE challenge. Unacademy Combat. Register now. It's time to experience something glorious. Unacademy Combat. Compete, crack, conquer.
A challenging GATE contest engineered to give you an experience like none other.
Where you put your knowledge to test.
and battle it out with the best.
To bring out the best in you, Unacademy Combat is the most competitive, gamified contest for GATE till date, with the best of the questions by best educators.
With detailed video solutions from top educators right after each contest.
Combat live.
Hi, hello friends. Welcome to the today's session. Welcome to Unacademy and welcome to my classes. So in this session, we are going to discuss about the importance of ER model. Very important in any kind of competitive examinations. They are going to be asked in a shortcut manner. So any kind of a question you can easily solve after listening the 3 lectures of ER model sessions. So today and in this session we are going to discuss about ER model, its importance and the terminology. Before entering into the session, I would like to say that Unacademy is conducting a Unacademy Combat. It's India's largest fortnightly competition for GATE. So challenging GATE questions created by the best educators using a good logics. So you check your skill set where you are standing, and also see that if you get the good marks and good rank, then you're going to see that exciting prizes. And it is going to start from 16th December exactly 6 p.m. onwards. So free for register and check your skill set. And our anthem is Crack GATE and ESE with India's largest learning platform, none other than Unacademy. To get Plus subscription and access unlimited live and recorded lectures from India's topmost educators. Dear friends, Unacademy has created wonderful interface to serve the dedicated students. Use this platform and see that your goal is going to be fulfilled. So dear friends, myself is Srinivasrao IS, having more than 15 years of experience in the GATE with the various papers. Also had industry experience in the back end, that is the database side and the systems side, having a good certifications like database admin, Cisco, networking, and Red Hat Linux. Dear friends, throughout my journey of GATE, I taught in many premium academies with a high success rate, and many of my students got completed their post-graduation from India's premium institutions like IITs, NITs, and NITs. And dear friends, you also can achieve to get the post-graduation from India's premium institutions by clearing a prestigious competitive examination conducting by Ministry of HRD. So dear friends, you please learn the tips and shortcuts from Unacademy educators. So, and also get guidance from Unacademy educators just by giving your valuable admission with Unacademy. Once you become a subscriber, then you can able to access unrestricted content with in-depth training, which is very much useful in your campus interviews also. So according to that, there are two types of programs which are there, plus and iconic. So plus means you see that you're going to have a live lessons, quizzes, mock sessions and many other things. And the other program introduced by Unacademy is iconic. So the iconic batch inbuilt consists of plus program, and also it is going to have 1:1 personal coach. So you're going to get 1:1 personal coach with a complete guidance. According to the subscription prices, we all know without investments there are no returns. So don't worry about the subscription amount. So every paisa you're going to get back with a vast knowledge and after settling your life. So this is our current fourth year students can opt for this, and the second and third year students can opt for 18-month subscription, and first and the second and third and 2 years can able to prefer 24 super long term batch. So use my referral code to get the admission into Unacademy. Then once you join under me, then I can able to be your guide, and you see that you're also going to get a maximum concession on the prices. So these are the final prices after applying my referral code according to the plus program. The other one is iconic subscription where you're having a two types. My referral code is also eligible for this. So first year onwards you can start your GATE training. It's not only for GATE, you're seeing that your engineering subjects are going to be on fingertips. So that is also one of the benefit. Once you use my referral code, then you're going to see that these are the final prices. Dear friends, my referral code is not only for GATE and ESE, it is also eligible for any program which is there in Unacademy. Let us start our session. So what is our session? ER model. So when you call about ER model, dear friends, first let me explain a database design approach. So which you can able to map a top bottom, bottom up, and the other one real-time industry is a following mixed process. So this is what industry is following nowadays. What is a top bottom approach? First to construct ER model, then construct relational model. Bottom up, we are trying to arrange your relations and attributes. Then we try to identify schema design rules. Then we try to do relational model. So this comes under into your schema design. This comes under into your relational model, and this comes under into your ER. And when you combine top bottom and bottom up approach, you're going to see that perfect design where you see entity relational model and where you see your schema design. Finally, we are going to construct the database. So according to that, we are learning first few sessions. We are going to learn about ER model. After ER model, I'm going to start SQL, which is try to construct your relational model. So when I call about ER model, it consists of entities, attributes, and relations. All together is called as a what? ER model. Now let us see why there is a requirement of ER model. So you are having a huge volume of data. I want to represent your real world data in the form of objects or a thing which must be uniquely identified. So that is important point. Your real world data is supposed to be identified and uniquely, which must be dissimilar. But they're all supposed to have, what I mean to say, belongs to one particular group. Similar type of data we want to go. So your real world data can be represented in the form of objects, in the form of relationships. It's also having other name that representation of domain knowledge in terms of entities and relationships. And it's mainly representing data in the form of pictorial representation. Last class I discussed. So everything is going to be represented logically, not physically. That's why it's mainly used to represent conceptual design. So it is used for pictorial representation of your data. like entities and relations. It is used to provide a blueprint. So whenever I called a concept that a plan of your entire database, that plan of entire database is provided by ER model, which is going to give you a blueprint. According to the blueprint, you have generated some entities, some attributes, and the relational model is going to be constructed. So unless and until you have a plan of action, you cannot able to create anything. So that blueprint can be generated by using ER model. So advantages, it is an effective communication tool. So it is integrated with the relational model. We will see in the third lecture of ER model. And the relations produced by ER model is in third normal form. Why? We will see in the later on sessions. And what are the disadvantages? It's unlike relational model. Relational model can use many kind of constraints and many kind of triggers. But here you can able to use only limited constraints only. And it is a complex for small projects. And there is some loss of information. So let us see what is ER model and what is entity, what is attribute, what is relationship. We will learn in this session. So this is how about ER terminology. What is ER terminology? When you talk about entity, the entity, so main terminology I am giving you here displayed like this. When you talk about attribute, this is displayed like this. So when you talk about the relationship, it is displayed like this. And when you talk about the flow control, it is displayed in the form of flow control lines. And reminding all so when you want to display something like strong entity, weak entity, that comes under into entity only. When you want to represent multi-values and single values, that is representing using in this. And strong relationship and weak relationship, that we represented using like this. So any kind of terminology is supposed to follow these four. Let us see its terminology now. So this is your entity set, and this is your attribute, this is your relationship, this is your link or flow control, attribute derived, multi-value attribute, it is in the form of circle only, and total participation, so weak entity representation, strong attribute representation, nothing but a key, and the other one is weak entity identification and weak attribute identified using a discriminator and cardinality and specialization and generalization. So don't worry, I'm going to discuss each and every terminology in this session itself. Now let me explain. According to ER concern, there are three components. One component is attribute, the second component is entity, the third component is relationship. You may have a doubt what is the meaning of entity and what is the meaning of entity set. So when you talk about entity, it is an object, which should be identified uniquely. And the entity has got permanent existency. Entity has permanent existency. And now, if you understand the student information I want to store, which consists of student number, which consists of student name, which consists of the course he joined. So I'm giving you, or I'm entering a tuple set into that. The first row I'm identifying as a 1, and name is a Sandeep, and the course is a SC. And I'm entering number 2. This is a one entity, please understand. This is a one entity. Entity is nothing but what? A collection of values which are associated to your given attributes. The collection of values of given attributes is called as entity, and entity is different from another entity. So 2, this time I am saying Chaitanya, and his branch is ECE. This is another entity which is different from others. They are unlike. And while you are inserting row number 3, I can give a Ram, and which is joining for CSC, and this is also an entity. Please understand. So 3 entities are represented permanently in some place, and now these are all the entities are belongs to student information. Now you got a concept called entity set. So what is entity set? Collection of similar type of entities. They are all similar only. Why? Because they are trying to narrate the information about a student. Therefore, these 3 tuples are belongs to student entity. So entity set is nothing but a tuple set. Entity is nothing but a tuple. And each tuple which is there in your information system must be identified uniquely. So entity is nothing but the values of your attributes which are filled. So that is about entity. You can take a book entity. So for example, I say, so I'm storing book information. So the book information consists of book ID, attribute, and book name, and the cost of the book. You see now. So you need to supply values to these attributes which are trying to store the information about a book. So book ID B1, book name is a DBMS, and cost is something like a 500. So you got one entity. So don't duplicate this entity, because entity is supposed to be uniquely identified. And I say book 2, and it is a CN, and which is something like 1,000. So this entity is dissimilar to other entity, and these 2 entities are trying to store for the same purpose of book information. Now they are called B1 dot dot, B2 dot dot. They are called as a what? A row set of a book entity. That's why I can call them as entity set. Entity set is nothing but a group of similar entities of same information system. So in order to represent this entities and entity set, there is a representation of a conceptual design model that is called ER model. So ER model basically has got 3 components. One component is entities, other component is attribute, other component is relationships. First of all, we will see the first component, that is attribute. Attribute is nothing but a set of characters. So set of characters, you are having like a student number and a student name, and father name, they're all eligible for attributes. Now there are different types of attributes we are having, especially in ER model. But some are not supported in the relational model, but these are all supported in your ER model. This is your 2012 GATE question. So last session I discussed that a relational model accept only single values and simple values. So relational model is not accept multi-values and composite values. And relational model accept stored values, but relational model is not going to accept derived attributes. Therefore, what do we understand, friends? ER model supports all kinds of attributes, but relational model supports only few types of information about attributes. First, I want to give a clarity about a single and a multi-value attribute. Already we discussed in the last session. Now, how are you going to represent here? So, what is the meaning of single value, which consists of only one value? If an attribute holds only single pair of value, it is a what? Single valued attribute. And when you talk about the multi-valued attribute, an attribute has got a set of pair of values. So you can store more than one value in that particular attribute is called as multi-value attribute. How are you going to represent? Single value means a circle and multi-value means what? A double circle. So when you display like this is a multi-value attribute according to ER. This is a single valued attribute according to ER. I told you ER model supports single values as well as multi-values, but relational model not supports multi-values. It supports only single values. And a second variety is a simple versus composite. So simple attribute consists of atomic values, cannot be further divided, and composite attributes can further divide into simple attributes. This also I discussed. What is a simple attribute? Student number, when I say it is a simple attribute, and student name, when I say it is a composite attribute, because this can be further split into first name, last name, and middle name. And one more column is also there, job. When I call job, then it is a what? Simple. When I say address, then the address further splits into a door number and a flat number and a street and many other things, including a landmark. So now you see the address is a composite attribute and the name is a composite attribute because the sum of your simple attributes are associated with your attribute. Now this is a simple attribute. This is also simple attribute. Fn is a simple attribute. This is a simple. This is a simple. And these are all simple attributes only. What do you see? The S name is a composite attribute because it has got some other splits, and address is also composite attribute. So this is how you can represent your composite attributes and simple attributes. And the third variety is a stored and derived. So stored values can help to your derived values. So compulsory you need to maintain a stored values, but derived values you can neglect because they are derived from your stored attributes. It is nothing but collection of values which are associated in your stored attributes. So values of derived attributes are getting from your stored attributes. How are you representing them? This is your stored attribute and this is your derived attribute. So for example, according to your textbook, if I know date of birth, I can calculate age. If I know your loan number, I can pay your installment. So therefore, these values are deriving on one of your base attributes. Hence wise, the derived attributes need not be used in the relational model. They are least bothered and can be ignorable. But ER model supports stored attributes as well as derived attributes. Both are there. Both functionalities are there with the ER model. And the last variety is a descriptive attribute. It mainly talking about a relationship. So whenever there are some attributes which are linked with your relationship, and they are called as what? Descriptive attributes. Right? So what is a descriptive attribute? We will see after some time. So they are used to record information about what? A relationship, not for entities. Now next one is strong attribute and weak attribute. Strong attribute and weak attribute. What is a strong attribute? Strong attribute is nothing but key attribute only. So when you have a key, please understand, when you have a key, we can maintain uniqueness. Entities can be identified uniquely. Entities can be identified uniquely. This is one of the basic principles of your ER model, because every entity must be dissimilar to others, but overall they supposed to belongs to one particular information system. So when you are saying that key attribute, then I can able to maintain a what? Non-duplicity. So I can maintain non-duplication data. This is one of the basic principles of our ER model. Therefore, how are you going to represent your strong attribute? So this is attribute. If you underline to a column, it is called as a strong. So here, student number is a key column because it is underlined. So that means the table of a student, there is a student number is a one column, which is your key. And see that you cannot have duplicates in that. Even you try to enter 1, this is going to give you an error because the data is supposed to be unique and should not contain duplicates. That is the principle of your ER model. Every entity is supposed to be identified uniquely. The second category is weak attribute. What is a weak attribute? Very important definitions there. What is a weak attribute? If an entity unable to identify, please understand, if an entity unable to identify uniquely, then it should identify uniquely. Then what it is going to do? It takes the help of, then it depends on another strong entity. It depends on another strong entity to represent entities uniquely or to make a uniqueness among the entities. So 100% we want to see that data is supposed to be unique. So with a strong attribute I can succeed, but with a weak attribute I cannot succeed. Therefore you have to depend on strong entity to prove your entities uniquely. So how are you going to represent your weak attribute? It is dotted underline. When it is a dotted underline, this is called as not a key, it is a partial key. So this complete attribute is called as weak attribute, because you can maintain uniqueness only just depends on another strong entity. You cannot maintain uniqueness on your own because you are unable to identify the key column in your particular area. Therefore, this can be represented using a what? A discriminator or descriptor. So this is how you can represent a strong entity and a weak entity. So we discussed single and multiple. So again, I'm telling you, now you also please recollect it. So single and multiple, simple and composite, stored, derived, strong, weak. Okay, friends. Now let us see the second component, that is called entity. So you want me to represent its relational model? I will represent, because some are asking me represent this into tabular format. I say student number and student name and a mobile number. Please understand. So I am saying the student number is a key and the student name divide into first name and last name. Mobile number may have multiple mobile numbers nowadays with the students or anybody. Therefore, your structure is rewritten in such a way like this. So your structure is rewritten like this. Now I'm going to fill the values in that. So you can identify the terminology. This is your key column, therefore it is a strong attribute. This S name is a composite attribute. Fn is a simple attribute. Ln is a simple attribute. Mobile number is a multi-value attribute because I can store multi-values in that. Therefore, if you take some values so that you will understand better. So I'm taking student number 1 and first name is something like XY. Second name is AB. And when you talk about the mobile number, it is associated with a set of numbers. One number is 87, the other number is a 97. That means you can maintain what? Composite values according to this. You can maintain multi-values according to this. So this is your tabular format, relational model representation, and this is your ER model representation. Okay. ER model is a completely pictorial representation only, analyzation, conceptual model. It's a logical model, not the physical model. Physical model is your relational model, how you can able to represent your data physically. But this is how you can able to represent logically. So second component is entity and entity set. I already told you what is the meaning of an entity. An entity is nothing but a thing or an object in the database which has got permanent existency. And every entity is supposed to be identified uniquely. Entity is nothing but the values of all your attributes is called as an entity. And entity 1 supposed to be different from entity 2, at least one attribute. And every entity should be created permanently. So entity is nothing but the values are associated with a collection of attributes. So what is entity set? If you group all the similar entities, then it is called entity set. So an entity set is a set of entities of the same type that share the same properties or attributes. For example, customer entity. And we are having all the values which are related to customer only. Customer number, customer name, and a street, and city. Now I am going to present the values for your customer entity. They are all speaking about one kind of information system, that's nothing but customer. And you say that there is other entities which are trying to store information about supplier. So supplier entities are different from your customer entities because they are two different data information storage. This is storing information about the supplier. This is storing information about a customer. So I got customer 1 and by name XYZ, some other is this, and a supplier number and a supplier name I am taking. So supplier number is S1, I am taking an entity S1 and the supplier name is ABC. So this is one of your entity and this is one of your entity. So these entities are belongs to customers and these entities are belongs to suppliers. They are different entities. So this is also entity set, that is also entity set. One are speaking about supplier information, one are speaking about customer information. So how are you going to represent entities and what are the types of entities we have? The first type of entity is called a strong entity, and next weak entity, next associative entity. So what is a strong entity? If you are able to identify a key attribute, though you can able to identify rows uniquely, that is the meaning of strong entity. And a strong entity, whenever you say an entity must identify key, an entity must be identified uniquely. So you have to identify, entity should identify key attribute. So how are you going to represent this strong entity? Listen. So I say there is a student. So student information I am storing, which consists of student numbers, which consist of student names, which consist of, see the attributes, how I am storing student information system. Student information system consists of student number, student name and student joined for which course. Now I want to maintain this data uniquely, so I am identifying student number is the key. So when you identify the student number is the key, then I already told you, you cannot able to enter any kind of duplicity in your student number. This is not possible. This is okay. This is okay. And when you enter once again, this is not possible. So strong entity assurance that your data is going to be identified uniquely. So every entity better you follow strong attribute. So here S number is a what? Strong attribute. As you are able to identify the strong attribute, that normal entity becomes automatically strong entity. So now student information system is a strong entity because it can able to form a key attribute which is used to identify your data uniquely. And the second kind of entity is called a weak entity. So strong entity means what? This entity set uniquely identified by key. It guarantees uniqueness among the tuples. Like you say, every real world data is identified with a strong entity. I already told you about what? Student. If I'm saying Aadhaar database, your Aadhaar database is consists of Aadhaar number. So here Aadhaar number is uniquely identified, which is not going to be given to others. Same Aadhaar number cannot be given to more than one party. So in that Aadhaar number is a what? Key column, which is called as a what? Strong entity. So how are you going to represent in ER? So Aadhaar information system I am storing, and this is the strong because I have identified Aadhaar number is underlined, which is nothing but key attribute. So this is your strong attribute and this is your strong entity because all the other entities are identified uniquely, collectively. And what is a weak entity? If you are unable to identify key attribute, it is called as a weak entity. So weak entity is nothing but what? An entity set does not have a key attribute, then it is called as a what? Weak entity set. But how are you going to maintain uniqueness? Because entity is supposed to be unique according to the entity relationship model. But how are you going to maintain the uniqueness? Because you are unable to identify the strong attribute. That means that every weak entity is associated with your strong entity. So in order to maintain the uniqueness, what we are doing, as we are unable to identify the key, then we are depending on another strong entity. So the existency of a weak entity set depends on existency of your strong entity. That's why weak entity cannot be represented alone. Please understand. Strong entity can be represented alone like this. This is a perfect. I can maintain individually, but weak entity cannot be maintained individually because it has to depends on another strong entity. Weak entity cannot depends on weak entity, and weak entity cannot be represented alone, and weak entity should depends on your strong entity. Therefore, dear friends, when you talk about a weak entity is identified with a partial key, as I already told you. A weak entity is identified with a what? Partial key. Let us see. Student information system I want. So I have identified student name and I have identified something like course. So what I do, I want to maintain these values uniquely, but key column is not there. When key column is not there, some column I am making as a what? Partial key. Now this is your partial key, which is called as a what? Weak attribute. And this weak attribute forms your student information system in the form of weak. So this is called as what? Weak entity, because there may be a chance of duplication. That's why we do not want to see any kind of a duplication. We want to maintain the data uniquely. Hence, you supposed to depends on another strong entity. You supposed to depends on another strong entity. So what I am taking? I am taking some other, let us say, course database, which consists of course number identified uniquely. This is a course name. And now a duration is a normal column. So in this case, course is a strong entity. Why course is a strong entity? Because you are able to identify a key attribute. Now I can happily depends on this course attribute, course entity. Therefore, this is depends on this. So you can keep any name to this relationship table. I say joins. A student joined for courses. So now how are you going to maintain the uniqueness here? Yes, course can maintain individually its uniqueness because the course number is a key, no doubt. So you cannot give some course number. In the same way, student also can able to maintain a uniqueness by taking your course as it is a partial key to you, and you are also associated with the what? The course number which it is sharing. So using this and using this, you can maintain uniqueness. Let us say this is a course name which is a partial key. Please understand, this is a partial key and this is a shared column because you are depending on this. Now I can able to maintain data uniquely. So C1 course name is a C and C2 course name is something like C++. Now you can able to maintain a what? The entities uniquely by taking the combination of your partial key and your shared strong attribute column. So dear friends, I told you two important rules. What are the two important rules? A weak entity do not have strong attribute and it is identified a partial key and which is depending on your strong entity. So weak entity maintains the uniqueness with the help of this partial key and a strong column of others. This can be represented in two varieties. One is with the total participation and the other one is a one-to-many relationship. Very, very important. How are you going to represent weak entity? So with the help of one-to-many relationship or with the help of total participation or with the help of existency dependency. These are the three varieties you can able to represent the weak entity concept. So this is what the weak entity can also be done using a what? Existency dependency. And I told you weak entity cannot be represented alone. Weak entity cannot be represented on, weak entity cannot depends on another weak entity. Weak entity has to depends on strong entity, then only it has got significance, otherwise it is invalid. So every weak entity has to be associated with a strong entity to maintain your data uniquely or to maintain entities uniquely as the rule of your ER model. So a weak entity cannot be identified without a strong entity or owner entity. However, you see that I will explain a concept of existency dependency. Therefore, you will understand the better the difference between strong entity and how you can able to represent a weak entity. So now listen carefully. There is a customer entity and there is a supplier entity. Let us say products and suppliers. There is a product entity, product information I want to store. There is a supplier information I want to store. I am separating. This is having a different tuple set and this is having a different tuple set. Please understand carefully. This has got product number identified uniquely. Therefore, this entity is a strong entity. And product name. And the supplier is also identified uniquely because it identified a strong column and a supplier name. So you got your answer. This is also strong entity and this is also strong entity. I can represent a strong entity alone because it can maintain itself a uniqueness because the key columns are identified as they are strong attributes. But if I am calling that, so let us say that this is the product and this is your supplier. So supplier has got two columns as like your previous, which has got supplier name only, and this has got product number and product name. Now you see this is underlined, that means it is a strong attribute, therefore this entity is a strong entity. This is dotted underline, which means what? This is a partial key, which is nothing but a weak attribute. Then this entity becomes weak. You cannot leave this like this. So what you supposed to do? You need to make a dependency on others. So what is the meaning of this? Product is supplied by suppliers. So this can be represented using a one-to-many relationship. What is one-to-many relationship? After 5 minutes you will learn. So if you write a situation like this is called a strong entity. I can designate as a owner entity, also called as a dominant entity. Without this, there are no suppliers. Unless products are available, you cannot supply them. That is the meaning of this. And this supplier is a secondary. First to produce the product, then supply. And this is called what? Dependent. also called as subordinate. This entire system is called as existency dependency. This entire system is called as what? Existency dependency. What is the meaning of existency dependency? Existency of a supplier depends on products. Unless products are available, supplier cannot supply. So this kind of a situation is called existency dependency. So existency of a supplier entity depends on existency of your product entity. If products are not there, there are no suppliers. So what is the problem with existency dependency? If any product is removed from product table, automatically suppliers will be removed. Because as there is no product, how can you issue? So automatically they are going to be removed. This is one of the critical concept in ER model, nothing but existency dependency. Here weak entity, existency dependency on your strong entity. So existency of a supplier needs existency of a product. If a product is not there, you cannot supply. If product is removed, you have to remove the supplier, those who have supplied the same product. So now I want to show you that in the tabular form. I am writing a product according to the same diagram in tabular form, which consists of product number, and I say that this is the key. Product 1, product 2, product 3. And the supplier, please understand, this is identified supplier name as one of your partial key. Underline, this is a primary key. So now weak entity cannot be left like that. Then what you are going to do? You take the strong attribute of others. Now you see, recollect last session, I am going to insert the data. Product 1 supplied by supplier XYZ. Product 2 supplier by ABC. Product 3 supplied by something like MNO. Product 4 supplied by PQR. This is not possible. This is not possible because P4 is not available. Unless P4 is available, you cannot get it supplied. So unless P4 is available, you cannot get it supplied. Therefore, what do we understand? Let us see like this. If P1 is deleted, then what will happen? As one of your product is deleted from your master table, then that is going to be deleted from automatically from your child table. But naturally, whenever you establish a primary key and a foreign key relationship, there is a referential integrity between them. Therefore, I cannot delete from master unless and until you delete from child. This is wrong. So what is the deletion integrity? According to referential integrity, first delete child, then delete master. But according to existency dependency, if I delete this P1 from your master table, and automatically the P1s are being deleted from your child, because unless P1 is available, you are not maintaining the issuing of your P1 product from the supplier. So this is one of the big drawback of existency dependency. Now we will see what is existency dependency. So existency of an entity depends on existency of another entity. So Y depends on X, therefore X is a dominant and Y is a what? A subordinate. If X depends on Y, Y is a dominant and X is a subordinate. So what is the problem? As Y tuples are deleted, then X tuples are deleted. So this is the concept, because unless you are having a master tuples, you cannot have a child tuples. So this is the concept. A department is a strong entity and employee is a weak entity. If a department entity is deleted, any row is deleted, then all its associated entities are deleted from your weak, that is employee. For example, I say 10 department number, 20 department number, 30 department number. This is your department table, department number as it is a key. And now employee table has employee name and which is a partially identified. Assume there is an employee name column which is not identified a key. Therefore, it is maintaining a what partial key. Now this partial key is associated with this department number. Assume employee 1 is working 10, employee 2 is working 10, employee 3 is working 10. After some days, if you delete 10 from your department, automatically they will be cascaded. Automatically they will be cascaded. When there is no 10 in your master instance, they will be deleted automatically from your child instance. So this is what is the meaning of what? Existency dependency, where you want to use existency dependency especially to represent what? Weak entity. And the next one is associative entity. What is associative entity? You want to represent many is to many relationship. Last session I discussed. One M stands for one primary key somewhere and another M stands for one primary key other side. So M into M can be discussed using, can be represented using two one is to many's. So you cannot represent this data in a single. So therefore one M is to M table to be created separately. So when you create a relation as an entity, then that is called a relation entity, also called as associative entity. That means the entity, it looks like entity, but it is created on a relationship. So listen, what is that? So student can take many courses and a course can be given to many students. There are two entities. One is recording student information and one is recording courses information. Both are strong entities because I have identified a key column. Strong attribute, strong entity. Strong attribute, strong entity. Now, a student can join in many courses. A student can join into many courses. And a course can be given, same course can be given to many students. So this is what is the meaning of many to many. The relationship is nothing but join. Where are you going to write this information? In an instant, in a table called join. So you need to create student table and you need to create course table and you also need to create join. This join contains student table, student in number, and this join table contains course number of course table. Therefore, this primary key will be associated here and this primary key will be associated here. So this is what is the meaning of one is to many. Two one is to many are a concept of many is to many. So this primary key is used here and this primary key is used here in order to fill the information. Now S1, S2, two students, C1, C2, two students. S1 can take two courses. Okay, fine. S1, C1, S1, C2. S2 also can take two courses. So S2, C1, S2, C2. What is the meaning? Course 1 can be given to more than one student and the same student can take more than one course. So this is the concept of many is to many. And this table you need to create separately because you cannot represent this two one is to many together. You're going to get a multi-values. That's why you better write like this. Now whenever you create a separate table for this, I am representing a rectangle now. It is called as associative entity. This is a strong entity, this is a strong entity, and this is associative entity. Association is nothing but relation. Now an entity is built on your relation, that is in the special case of M is to M. And what is the meaning of relation? Now you will understand relationship. So relationship is going to provide sharing of data. And relationship also provides a referential integrity among master instance and child instance. Relation is called as association among several entities. So there are two varieties of relationships, strong and weak. Strong relation is nothing but the relationship is in between two strong entities. I already shown you now. So this is only strong entity and a strong entity. This relation is called as a strong relationship. And what is a weak relationship? Weak entity cannot be represented alone. Therefore, every weak entity depends on your strong entity. Every weak entity depends on what? Strong entity. It is called weak relationship. But strong relationship can be established among strong entities only. So two strong entities, if it participate in the relationship, it is a strong relationship. And weak relationship means every weak entity is supposed to be participated with the strong entity. So this is a weak relationship. This is the strong relationship. As this is a weak entity, so double rectangle. As this is a strong entity, single rectangle. This is a single and this is a single. And the strong relationship is a single diamond. But weak relationship is a double diamond as it is a weak. Right? And see that every weak entity is supposed to be participated with a strong entity. And that is to be represented using a weak relationship as like this. Clear? So what is a strong? What is a weak? When you talk about the strong relationship, sharing among strong entities. And your strong relationship offers two integrities carefully. Addition integrity is also perfect, master first, child second. And deletion integrity is also perfect, that is first clear child, then master. So it is not following existency dependency. Existency dependency only for weak relationship only. Now let us see one example on this. I say student and course. So when I am talking about a student here, which consists of student number, and a course here, which consists of a course number, this is the key column and this is also key column. Key is nothing but primary key or unique key, whatever it may be. So S1, S2, C1, C2. Now they want to share the data. How they share the data, please understand. So S1 can participate with C1, S1 can participate with C2 and so on, like I already shown you. Now what I want to show now, see one different example, and this courses are here, it is shared. Now what has happened? Student number, now I am writing in a tabular format. Student 1 joined for course 1. Student 2 joined for course 2. Yes, perfect. Course 1 is available, course 2 available. Because data first of all to be inserted in a master. This is your master entity. This is your child entity as you are sharing it. Now student 3 would like to join for course 4. This is not possible. This is an error. Why this is an error? Unless the C4 is available in master, you cannot represent in the child entity. That's why it is a perfectly following. This is your strong relationship. Why? This is a strong entity and this is a strong entity. The relationship is also strong relationship only between them. So it is a following addition integrity such that master is inserted first followed by child. And my question is that, can I delete? Please understand. Can I delete S1 comma C1 Can I delete C1 from course? Yes, of course. When it is a weak existence dependency, but here you cannot delete. Why you cannot delete? Because there are some child references are available. So C1 against with this available. Therefore, you cannot delete, not possible, because the child references are available. So it is also offering addition integrity. It allows addition integrity as well as deletion integrity. What is a deletion integrity? First you clear the child, then clear the master. First you delete from your child entity, then delete from your master entity. So two advantages with your strong relationship: addition integrity and deletion integrity. If I write the same example with a weak relationship, same example I am taking. The student do not have a key column which is identified with a weak column only. This is a weak. But course is identified strong. This is your key. And now I am maintaining C1 and C2 and C3 as this is a weak entity now. Right? Because it identifies only partial key, not the complete key. Therefore, what will happen? The weak entity is supposed to depends on your strong entity. So you are depending. But you are depending completely, not like the previous. So you got shared CNO. And weak relationship provides as usually what? Addition integrity, no doubt. First point is a common. Weak relationship provides addition integrity. What is addition integrity? First master, child. So C1, C2, C3. So I can give them C1, C2, C3 to and few students like X, Y and Z. Now you see, first point is the same. Strength is add integrity. But what is the drawback? Can I delete? Same question I am asking. Can I delete C1 from course? Yes. Perfect. Because it is a weak relationship. You have joined not strongly, you are joined weakly. So it is done with existence dependency or one is to many participation or total participation. Now what will happen when C1 is deleted from your course? Then automatically C1, for example, if this is also C1, the entity is also going to be deleted. That's why it is violating deletion integrity. Earlier example, you cannot delete anything from master if at all there are some child references. But here I can delete a master even though there are child references because it is a weak relationship. So yes, because it is what? Weak relationship. Also called as existency dependency. So what is the meaning of that? When master tuple is deleted, then all its child tuples are associated will be cascaded. So this is a dangerous problem with the what? Weak relationship. But there are many applications which are following weak relationship. So we will learn in some other session. So in this session, we learned about what is a strong relationship and what is the weak relationship. Now you know. Let me give, before closing, I want to give an example. So E1 and E2, two entities, and they want to share the data each other. So they are having a relationship. So this has got A, this has got B. So I can confirm this is a strong entity, this is a strong entity, and the relationship name is R1, which has got some other columns like C. Now this is a strong relationship because the relationship is formed between two strong entities. And this C is a what? Descriptive attribute. Because it is talking about the relationship. Next session we will learn. And this is strong attribute. And this is a strong attribute. So if I am taking another example over here, E1 and E2. As I said that this is A, strong. This is the B, partial. Therefore, what will happen if you join between them? Because every weak entity is supposed to be shared, supposed to be associated with a strong entity. And this relationship automatically becomes a what? Weak. If anybody asks you what is the problem with a weak relationship? Yes, there is a problem. What is that? Addition integrity is a common between them. Addition integrity is a fine in both they are offering. But it is offering deletion integrity, but it is violating deletion integrity. That means if anything you delete from E1, then all will be cascaded from E2. Because it is a weak relationship, because this is a weak attribute, and this is a strong attribute, and this is a this is a strong entity, and this is a weak entity. The relationship between is a what? Weak relationship. Because strong relationship is established among the strong entities and weak relationship is established among, don't say that two weak entities, one weak entity and one strong entity. Because weak entity cannot be displayed alone. It do not have any significance to stand alone. Therefore, it has to depend on strong entity. What's the difference? Strong relationship offers addition integrity, deletion integrity, and weak relationship do not offer deletion integrity, such that whatever you delete from master, automatically childs will be cancelled. Dear friends, the continuation we will see in the next lecture, that is tomorrow. So tomorrow I am going to discuss about constraints on ER model. Don't miss all the ER model lectures. And you see that Let's Crack GATE CSE is our YouTube channel. So subscribe our YouTube channel, use my referral code to get the admission into Unacademy. And I would like to say that Unacademy is prestigiously launching Unacademy Combat, a technical quiz, and the questions, excellent questions are prepared by topmost educators with the detailed solutions. Immediately register. This is commencing on 16th December 6 p.m. So I'm going to show the promo. Tomorrow our schedule is constraints or ER model and mapping and questionnaire on ER model in the consecutive lectures. So let me show you the promo.
It's time to experience something glorious. Unacademy Combat. Compete, crack, conquer.
A challenging GATE contest engineered to give you an experience like none other.
where you put your knowledge to test.
and battle it out with a test.
To bring out the best in you, Unacademy Combat is the most competitive, gamified contest for GATE till date, with the best of the questions by best educators.
With detailed video solutions from top educators right after each contest.
Combat live with peers to get real-time rankings and win big.
Participate in every contest to improve your ratings.
Challenging contests every fortnight or alternate Sunday. Live ranking after every question. Big rewards for top rankers. Your passion to crack GATE deserves this. Your hard work towards your dream deserves this. Fuel your inner fire for the ultimate GATE challenge. Unacademy Combat. Register now. It's time to experience something glorious. Unacademy